Warm greetings from TNV Academy. Today in this session, we have brought up an exciting topic for discussion, which is HAZOP, or commonly known as Hazard and Operability Studies. So let me quickly tell you about the learning out of this session. At the end of this session, you will find yourself capable to understand what is HAZOP, purpose of HAZOP, importance of HAZOP for industries, the process of HAZOP study, the four phases of HAZOP, and the last one is benefits of HAZOP study. So let's start our discussion and talk about what is HAZOP study. HAZOP is a systematic assessment tool used to identify and address potential hazard in industrial processes before an incident occurs that could affect the safety of people or assets while hindering productivity. HAZOP studies are typically performed while new facilities are being designed and constructed, when new processes are added, or when processes change. Mostly regulatory agencies also require periodic HAZOP studies on existing processes. The HAZOP assessment is typically performed by a small team that breaks each step of a process down for individual review to identify potential deviations from the original process design. Like all PHAs, HAZOP go beyond the review of how a process is supposed to operate in order to identify unintended outcomes and explore their potential ripple effects on health and safety. Hazard and Operability HAZOP is a systematic approach to determining potential problems that may be uncovered by reviewing the safety of designs and revisiting existing processes and operations in chemical, pharmaceutical, oil and gas, and nuclear industries. A hazard and operability studies HAZOP is a structured and systematic examination of a complex plan or operation in order to identify and evaluate problems that may represent risk to personnel or equipment. The intention of performing a HAZOP is to review the design to pick up design and engineering issues that may otherwise not have been found. The technique is based on breaking the overall complex design of the process into a number of simpler sections called nodes, which are then individually reviewed. It is carried out by a suitably experienced multidisciplinary team, HAZOP, during a series of meetings. The HAZOP technique is qualitative and aims to stimulate the imagination of participants to identify potential hazards and operability problems. Structure and direction are given to the review process by applying standardized guideword prompts to the review of each node. The relevant international standard calls for team members to display intuition and good judgment, and for the meetings to be held in a climate of positive thinking and frank discussion. We will now discuss the purpose of HAZOP. HAZOP is also known as HAZOP study or HAZOP analysis, is a process hazard analysis PHA method recognized in OSHAS, Process Safety Management System, Process Safety Management PSM standard. It is a form of risk management to identify, evaluate, and control hazards and risk in complex processes. It involves highly hazardous chemicals that can cause significant injuries to workers and extensive damage to property and company reputation if not properly processed and handled. It involves highly hazardous chemicals that can cause significant injuries to workers and extensive damage to property and company reputation if not properly processed and handled. It has the organization address. Potential hazard in business operation. Past incidents that had likelihood for catastrophic consequences. Human controlled factors and consequences of failure of applied control measures, including the range of the possible health and safety risks. Let us now discuss the importance of HAZOP for industries. HAZOP is a risk assessment approach that has become the de facto industry standard. It is a highly structured method of analyzing any possible deviation that can happen in a complex plant including chemical, pharmaceutical, oil and gas, nuclear and mining industries. It is a crucial task that helps multiple industries to proactively catch hazards and help formulate risk mitigation early on during the planning or design stage of projects. Realize risk during modification of current processes and see how deviations may occur from the design intent. And investigate how the plant or systems deviate from business goals that create a risk to personnel and operation. We will now discuss the process of HAZOP study, as HAZOP undertakes the careful review of complex processes involved in the handling of processing of chemicals and materials that can potentially harm workers and stakeholders if not properly contained and handled. It is important to follow the following steps. The first one is build a HAZOP team. Create a multidisciplinary HAZOP team composed of a team leader and members who can collaborate and provide different perspectives based on their fields of expertise at realizing sources of risk and possible deviations from design. An example of HAZOP. Team members would be design engineers, those who are very familiar with operations and safety professionals. The second one is identify processes. ID and HAZOP notes when beginning a HAZOP study. It is important to identify the processes in operations, drawings or diagrams that provide the visual representation of interconnected processes, equipment and controls in the physical plant. HAZOP notes are sections in the entire process where change happen and they need to be reviewed along with material safety data sheets MSDS so that parameters can be defined and deviations are identified. The third one is define the parameters, determine deviations and select guidewords. Define parameters or safe operating limits during the review of notes so that deviations can be determined and guidewords are selected. For example, of common HAZOP guidewords: no or not, more, less, high, low. With the use of guidewords, workplace hazards can be clearly identified as they are the deviations that go beyond acceptable parameters or safe operating limits. The fourth one is identify controls and establish safety monitoring with hazards identified. The corresponding hazard mitigation or elimination strategies should be applied to maintain the safety of the workplace. With ongoing processes and production, monitoring should also be established to ensure that safeguards are still effective and safety procedures are being followed. Monitoring is only effective when it is actually conducted regularly. A safeguard is to automate safety monitoring through sensors. Sensors can trigger automated notifications for intended personnel whenever safety parameters are exceeded in real time. The fifth one is communication HAZOP results and improve processes. The result of the HAZOP analysis can be used to help elevate safety within the plant, and improvements in safety practices and processes should be communicated to as appropriate to employees. For example, occupational safety, chemical safety and hygiene safety processes. An effective approach to safety training or program will also help hasten the implementation of changes and reinforce safety across the board. HAZOP is rigorous and can take a lot of time and resources to complete. But by following HAZOP steps and using tools that can help hasten the process without compromising and quality of the process and its result, HAZOP can be effectively conducted and completed sooner, and the workplace can be made safer and more efficient. Let us now discuss the 4 phases of HAZOP study. 4 phases of analysis. A HAZOP analysis is conducted by a suitably experienced multidisciplinary team to thoroughly examine and plan our existing process. It helps identify and evaluate health hazards that may endanger people or hinder efficient operation of the business. A HAZOP analysis executed in 4 phases as follows. Definition phase. The definition phase typically begins with the preliminary selection of risk assessment team members. After building the team, they must clearly define their responsibilities and identify their objectives and assessment scope, including study boundaries, key interfaces, and assumptions. Preparation phase. During the preparation phase, the team should identify and locate supporting data and information to plan the study. They have to prepare the schedule, timelines, and template format to recording studies outputs. Examination phase. The examination phase begins with the identification of all elements such as parts of steps of the system of process to be examined. The team has to classify deviation using guide words on each element and identify consequences and causes of problems. They have to establish protection, detection process and supporting mechanisms. Documentation and follow-up phase. The documentation and follow-up phase utilizes HAZOP templates to finalize the output reports. It involves the review of record examinations, follow-up on implemented. It involves the review of record examinations, follow-up on implemented action plans, and restudy of any system parts if necessary before signing of the documentation. And as the final point of discussion, let us now take a look at the key benefits of the HAZOP analysis. The benefit of the HAZOP is that early identification and assessment of the critical hazards provide essential input to project development decisions. This leads to a safer and more cost-effective design with a minimum cost of change penalty. Other benefits of HAZOP are: it works as a qualitative risk assessment tool. During the brainstorming session based on past experiences or lessons learned, safety points are taken care of to prevent reoccurrence. HAZOP is a very simple and effective method, as HAZOP is a cross-functional term effort. Experiences from all disciplines combine into the design for highly safe operation. HAZOP is a powerful communication tool for obtaining early buy-in on the approach. So, we have now come to the conclusion of this session. We will be waiting for your questions and queries. So, please mention them in the comment section of the video and we will be really happy answering them. See you soon. Till then, best wishes from TNV Academy. Thank you.